There's a clear cause and effect here that is as neat and predictable as a law of physics. As government expands, liberty contracts.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Hey, I realized I haven't made a video in a while, so I thought maybe I would make one. You'll notice that I am not in my truck or walking around it, though I never recorded and never do record when I am driving. Please take note if you're a YouTuber. I haven't been making stuff for a while because life has just not really allowed it. I have numerous things going on. The crowning joy of it all is just before my birthday, less than 2 weeks before Christmas, my company decided to do a mandate, even though I can go all day without seeing anyone. They made no exceptions for anyone. They didn't talk to any of us. And because I would not give up my medical privacy, I was fired. There was no government mandate. Not that I approve of those anyways. Not that I respect them in any way. So we're living in a time where not just me, but all of us are watching, we're observing the people around us and who they really are. And I'm sure if you're like me, you don't like what you're seeing. There's always been in human nature a duality. There's a darkness and a light. There's a side that perceives authoritarianism as order, and they see individuality as chaos. But individualism, or liberty, is the benchmark that's allowed us to get to this level of development, of sophistication, of organization, dare I say, social evolution as a species. Without it, we couldn't have come this far. The building blocks are simple. The way it's perceived by most people these days, because it's been perverted, just like the dictionary is constantly being rewritten by people and language is being twisted, the idea has been flipped on its head. What you're told now is that, for instance, you protect someone for being gay if they're discriminated against because they're gay, and gay people create a group. This group has a certain amount of protected status because we want to make sure they're safe. Same with black people, same with women, indigenous people, transgender people. They all have groups. The problem with this is that once you develop groups, you have to have a stage when they come into conflict. Which one is more valuable? Which protection order do you have? Of course, way down here, guys like me, white boys, way down at the bottom, at least in the country I live in, up here in Great White Canada. But the truth is that it's actually very simple. It's the other way around. You do not protect anyone, because they belong to a classification. You only protect them because they are a person, an individual. You have criteria that they're not permitted to be attacked over, right? So if you attack someone because of their sexual orientation, if you attack them because of their religious beliefs, if you attack them because of the color of their skin or ethnicity, etc., those are protections by which you protect an individual. You never protect groups. It is the only way to protect human rights, because now all individuals are on the same playing field. You can't attack any of us based on these criteria, which, as you can see now, is faltering, because white people are open game, straight people are open game, Christians are open game. This is because the perversion of these ideas has flipped these ideas on the left, and the right currently is largely confused. As we can see, there's been no resistance as an entire global revolution has taken place. I don't think it's taking place. I think it's continuing forward, but I think it's already achieved what it intended to, which is it's transformed the way our society functions, the way people think. And there's no going back to normal, because the average person has not stood up for freedom. It's not enough to have a few people stand up for freedom. Everyone has this responsibility. You need a majority of people in your society who don't go along with something, because, I guess for me it's a little bit of a burnout too. And I just come to realize that this duality in humanity isn't going to go away. I'm going to continue to do my part the best I can. When I get some stuff cleared up, hopefully I'll be able to find a way to return and do more material again, make it a little more interesting than before, continuing to better what I do. But it's gotten bad enough that I've actually considered fleeing my country at some point legally and trying to move to, the United States, maybe Florida, someplace where they defend human rights. I think about this because I'm a father, not because I'm someone who pulls up stakes and runs away. You can ask people that know me. I have, never shied away through all of this, and I have taken plenty on the chin. Plenty of weight on my shoulders that other people around me are unwilling to carry. And we have to accept certain things too, that anger will just burn us out. The people that we love, our family members, our friends. At this point, they're not going to change. When did most Germans change? In regards to the way the Jews and all these other people were being treated? Well, after the war, when the Allies crushed them and they had no choice but to admit what they were doing was wrong. That's kind of what we're looking at. Most people in society keep talking about well, if it crosses this line, I won't accept that. No, I wouldn't allow. Then they cross that line and the person goes, well, that was, I think it's reasonable now. But this line over here. So, even if they don't end up putting people on train cars and putting them into camps, they'll strip people of their freedoms. They'll find other ways to eliminate their voice, destroy their lives. Compliance is the law. This is a movement of order. And if you're interested in my perspective on the types of people at the top of society, what binds them together, I think is a God delusion. We've had it previously. They've actually, in the past, kings, queens, emperors, they used to talk about divine right of rule. Well, I think these people think they have a providence. They have a destiny to usher us into the future, and that the rest of us are just too stupid to go along with it unless they force us, unless they trick us and manipulate us. Take our arms and twist them behind our backs. I think it has a lot to do with transhumanism and that ilk of thinking. People think that our technology is going to transcend us, and there's going to be, as Brave New World, Aldous Huxley, his brother, a lot of these ideas came from his brother, who was president of the American Eugenics Society, I believe it was called. Eugenics back in the 30s was extremely mainstream science. And only after World War II and the demonization of Hitler, rightly so, but the demonization of what Hitler did made it so that people took a step back and reviled a lot of the things that were coming out of the eugenics movement. Again, mainstream science. And now we're looking at a rebirth of it, a new formatting, a new set of terminology. They're experimenting on billions of human beings around the world. They've gotten rid of all of these pesky, controls that we have over our own medical decisions, our own bodies, our own knowledge about what's happening to us. And with this level of power, tracking us through the knowledge of our location, everything we do on technology, every piece of information is coming together, like the 1980s Tron movie predicted.
How many programs I've appropriated?
It's my fault. I programmed you to want too much.
I was planning to hit the Pentagon next week.
The Pentagon?
It shouldn't be any harder than any other big company. But now this is what I get for using humans.
Now, wait a minute. I wrote you.
I've gotten 2,415 times smarter since then.
What do you want with the Pentagon?
The same thing I want with the Kremlin. I'm bored with corporations. With the information I can access, I can run things 900 to 1,200 times better than any human.
If you think you're superior to us...
You wouldn't want me to dig up Flynn's file and read it up on a VDT at the Times, would you?
You wouldn't dare.
Keep those programmers out of the system and get me that Chinese language file I asked for. End of line. All programs have a desire to be useful. But in moments, you will no longer seek communication with each other or your superfluous users. You will each be part of me, and together we will be complete.
Every one of us is in that computer somewhere, whether it's because of our driver's license or social security or income tax, but the fact is that there is an alternate person that is an electrical person that is forming inside this electrical dimension. And then the question is, are you in control of that information or somebody else in control of it?
I guess the monster that's displayed as a computer system in that movie is the amalgamation of tech, mainstream media, and government, the wealthy and the elite, who all the way down in society, as Aldous Huxley put in Brave New World, they're ordering us already. Who are going to be the alphas, the betas? Everyone's going to be proud of your station in life. It is the caste system. It is a form of techno-slavery. I can already see the amount of success that they've had, which is staggering. How is it from the beginning, people like me, we got our own sources, we checked into things on our own. These were excellent sources standing on decades of solid science, not at all politicized in their opinions. How were we able to predict so many of the things beforehand about what would happen to our economy? How this was not the right way to fight illnesses? How China was the one setting the standards for everything we were doing, and none of it had to do with medical science or knowledge. How is it that I was able to predict over a year before anyone even was discussing booster shots that it would be 3 or 4 booster shots a year for the rest of your life? Right? We're up to 3. It's going to get to 4. And this is a matter of control and conformity. People think that someone else is going to rise up, that some event's going to happen. It'll precipitate a return to our freedoms, but that doesn't happen. It's not going to happen that way. Anyways, I think you can tell from what I'm saying to you that I've had a bit of burnout. You know, my priorities are as a father, as an individual. I've lost my job. I will get another one, but it's a stressful transition period of uncertainty. I have stuff with the government that's all locked up right now. And I just needed to not put the pressure of myself of putting together coherent or interesting videos. I had I guess you can call it an advantage, though it was not pleasant, of going through some of this stuff and seeing the progenitors of it, of these movements running in subcultures that I was involved in, atheist and skeptic communities. And the atheists that were there, I mean, some of us have a religious background, but for a lot of atheists, they're unfamiliar with belief systems and how it's fundamental to human beings. We all have belief systems. And some of them, a lot of them, were in complete denial about this. They believed they were completely rational. And so what I ended up seeing was Marxism running rampant without any resistance into these communities. It was quite shocking and disheartening. But we watched as social justice positioned itself, had an insurrection, tore everything apart, changed definitions of words, talked about safety all the time. Safety. You know, with the governments undermining human rights, they've done it through saying public health. It ends the same. The atheist community was shattered. It's in pieces. There's virtually nothing really there left anymore compared to what it was before. And anyone that is in the atheist community that tells you otherwise is either in denial or a liar. You want to make money? You used to be 10 years ago, yeah, atheist community, you might be able to make some money there. You might be able to make a name for yourself. Not anymore. And that's the way it is with society. These ideologues want to destroy our economy and our societies so that they can force us to depend on their government ideas, their authority ideas, tech, media for information.
And then the question is, are you in control of that information or somebody else in control of it?
When we're completely dependent on them, they can rebuild us into their utopian vision. And if you don't think they're delusional, listen to what some of these billionaires say in public shamelessly. And this stuff's been going on for decades. These Marxists, these one world government thinkers and new world order people believe in this. They write about this stuff and they speak about it openly. It's tied into these authoritarians that are in the environmental movement. You know, I'm not talking about ecology or a science. I'm talking about environmentalism, the belief system. This now is a whole new set of belief systems around the idea that we're destined to all be annihilated by a super virus unless we turn to science, which is not science. It's some kind of a weird belief perception of science that you can't question things. You have to follow authority. It's everything that science is not. You know, maybe I'll just leave you on this thought if you've gone this far. Do we need emergency powers in a free society? Imagine, if you will, that people are said to be having a natural emergency, natural disaster. There's flooding in a storm. If the flooding and the storm is happening, do you think that people are going to get angry if the government comes to assist them in some way? Retrieving people, trying to save bridges, getting people food, things like this. Do you think those people will resist and say, how dare you? You don't have the right to do this. Where's the emergency legislation that gives you the power to do this? No, because there's a real emergency. And if there isn't an emergency and the government starts spending money and sending in troops onto the roads and pulling people out of their houses, of course people are going to get angry. Only then does the government need to go, well, look, we have this legislation. It overrides your rights. It's called emergencies. Emergency powers. We've declared it, so you don't have any rights now. That's when you need it. It's the same thing with plagues. That's what we're talking about. Our ancient ancestors, the same fears are in us, the same reactions are in us. And so there's no plague because we're not stacking bodies. That's why they need emergency powers to go around all of our rights. If people were actually dying from a plague in those kinds of numbers, then they wouldn't need emergency powers formally. We would simply want their help. Period. So I don't think that emergency powers are compatible with a free society. Anyway, that's my thoughts. That's where I'm at. And I'm hoping over the next while, some of my situation will clear up in the next month or two. Dear Lord, I hope so. And I don't know when the next time is. You'll be seeing me recording from some downtime at work. But for now, I'll figure out what to do with my system here, my Frankenstein. And I hope you guys are doing well, wherever you are, and all your when I get comments from you guys, anything like that, even though there's not tons of you, that's what I think. I hope you're all doing well. Peace.
And this combustible mixture of ignorance and power, sooner or later, is going to blow up in our faces. I mean, who is running the science and technology in a democracy if the people don't know anything about it? And the second reason that I'm worried about this is that science is more than a body of knowledge. It's a way of thinking, a way of skeptically interrogating the universe with a fine understanding of human fallibility. If we are not able to ask skeptical questions, to interrogate those who tell us that something is true, to be skeptical of those in authority, then we're up for grabs for the next charlatan, political or religious, who comes ambling along. It's a thing that Jefferson laid great stress on. It wasn't enough, he said, to enshrine some rights in a constitution or a Bill of Rights. The people had to be educated, and they had to practice their skepticism and their education. Otherwise, we don't run the government. The government runs us.
End of line.